Jungkook sat in his office, flipping through a stack of assignments, scanning each page with silent precision. His brows furrowed as he realized he was missing a particular reference book, one he needed right now. I must have left it in the library, he murmured to himself, standing up. Without delay, Jungkook walked through the empty hallway toward the library. As he approached, he noticed the large padlock still hanging from the door. The library was closed. Just then, the librarian noticed him and hurried over. "Mr. Min, do you need something, sir?" the librarian asked politely. "Jungkook, I need a book. Open the lock," he replied, urgency in his voice. The librarian quickly unlocked the door. Jungkook stepped inside, instantly froze. There, laying on the cold floor between two tall slabs, was a girl. Her long, dark hair covered her face completely, her body still and unmoving. Jungkook's heart jumped. Without thinking, he rushed forward, kneeled beside her, and gently brushed the hair away from her face. His breath caught in his throat. "Jungkook, wine," he gasped. His pulse quickened in panic. "Jungkook, water. Bring water now," he shouted to the librarian. Moments later, the man returned, handing him a bottle with trembling hands. Jungkook sprinkled water on her face, patting her cheeks gently. Then, with more force, as desperation crept in, "Jungkook, wine, wake up." After a few agonizing seconds, Vine slowly blinked. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed and terrified. She looked up and suddenly clung to him like a lifeline, bursting into tears. Jungkook stiffened, unsure whether to hold her or pull away. Her sobs were ragged, desperate. Then, just as suddenly, she seemed to realize what she was doing. Wine let go and stepped back, wiping her tears hastily. "Wine, I'm sorry, sir," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jungkook blinked, regaining his senses. He turned sharply toward the librarian. "Jungkook, Mr. Min, before locking the library, you should always check if anyone is still inside. This could have been much worse." The librarian lowered his head. "Mr. Min, I am terribly sorry, sir. It won't happen again." Wine didn't say another word. She turned around and quickly walked out of the room, her footsteps barely making a sound. Jungkook stood there, watching her go, unable to shake off the image of her collapsed, pale figure. His hands were still trembling. Wine hurried back home, her heart still pounding from the incident in the library. As soon as she stepped inside, she was met with chaos. The apartment looked like a storm had passed through, clothes scattered, dishes unwashed, everything in complete disarray. But she didn't care, not today. She didn't have the energy to care. Without bothering to tidy up, she dropped her bag on the floor and curled into bed. Tears welled up in her eyes and silently spilled over, soaking into the pillow. For a while she just lay there, crying, breathing, breaking. But then something inside her stirred, a reminder she wasn't alone anymore. With great effort, one sat up and wiped her face. She slowly moved toward the kitchen. She had to eat, not for herself, but for the life growing inside her, her baby. The thought of it gave her just enough strength to begin cooking. She chopped, stirred, and simmered in silence. The warmth of the stove, the scent of the food, all should have been comforting, but her body refused to cooperate. As soon as she brought the food into her room and took a few bites, nausea struck her. Wine ran to the sink and threw up. Her whole body ached. She felt weak, drained, and cold. Nothing she cooked seemed edible. Her stomach churned with rejection. She stared blankly at the untouched food for a few moments before it occurred to her maybe the baby didn't like it. Quietly, she walked to the fridge and pulled out a jar of pickle. It was all she could think of. She ate a few bites, and for the first time that day, her body didn't rebel. A faint sense of relief washed over her. When returned to her bed, her limbs heavy today. She felt worse than usual. She hadn't been to doctor in a long time. She knew she needed to, but how could she? She had no money. Even the prescribed medicine had run out days ago. They were expensive, too expensive for someone in her position. Taking them regularly had become a luxury she could not afford. The stress, the fear, the loneliness, it all piled up inside her. She wrapped her arms around herself and began to cry again, quieter this time, as if not to wake the tiny soul inside her. Eventually her sobs faded, and exhaustion won over pain. One cried herself to sleep, curled up under the weight of her reality. Morning light spilled gently through the windows as one walked into her college classroom. The atmosphere felt heavier than usual. Everyone was seated quietly in their own spaces, but something about the air seemed off. Susie and Sumi were sitting in the far corner, unusually silent, their eyes wide with surprise as they caught sight of Wine entering the room. They didn't greet her, in fact, they didn't say a word. Wine noticed their startled expression but chose not to react. She quietly took a seat near the back of the room, her mind still tangled in questions. The girl who had called her to the library the other day was nowhere to be seen. One found that odd. Something wasn't right, but for now she remained silent. Behind her, hushed whispers floated between Suji and Somi. Suji, she's here and just sitting like nothing happened. Suji murmured, I was sure something bad had gone down, but she looks fine. Somi's voice trembled. Somi, Jungkook sir scared us so badly this morning. I doubt anyone even has the guts to say a word to her now. Suzy, I never imagined Jungkook sir would get that furious. Suzy said, shaking her head. Good thing we weren't too directly involved. Somi, sir only asked why she had called him for no reason, and since the librarian locked the door accidentally, no one was technically at fault. Somi replied, Susie, at least that girl didn't take our names. Susie sighed with relief, thought she hasn't shown up to college since then. Somi, guess we're lucky, Somi said softly. Susie's eyes narrowed, a mischievous spark flickering in them. Susie, forget all this. I need a better plan to get Jungkook sir's attention. This tragedy clearly didn't work. Sumi, yeah, Sumi nodded quietly. Let's just drop it. As the day passed, classes came and went. Finally, for the last period, Jungkook walked into the room. His presence silenced whatever little noise remained. Wine didn't even glance at him. She kept her eyes fixed on her book, acting as if he wasn't there. Jungkook too remained composed. His expression was unreadable, his attention fully on the lecture. There was no trace of what had happened the day before. He thought as if nothing had changed. When the bell rang, students filed out one by one, their conversation hushed. One stood quietly, gathered her things, and made her way straight to the cafe where she worked. There was no time to think, no time to dwell. Life moved forward, even if the scars were still fresh. One was walking to work, her steps slow but steady. Her thoughts were scattered, drifting between the classroom and the quiet conversation she didn't understand earlier. But something on the street caught her eyes. She stopped. A young woman stood ahead of her, dressing in a flowing red gown, a bouquet of red roses in her hands. Joy sparkled in her eyes as she laughed, her smile radiant. Beside her stood a man in a sleek black suit, a crimson tie around his neck. He, too, was smiling, his gaze full of love and excitement. Several photographers surrounded them, adjusting lenses and giving directions. Wayne realized it was a pre-wedding photo shoot. She stood still, her gaze fixed. A strange wave of emotion washed over her. For a moment, it wasn't them she was watching, it was herself and Jungkook. She imagined herself in that red gown, laughing without worry, her hand in Jungkook's. The vision was so vivid, it almost hurt. Suddenly petals, hundreds of red rose petals, were thrown into the air, showering the couple, the road, and even the onlookers. One looked up, caught in the soft rain of flowers. Some of the petals landed on her shoulders, her hair. She gently cocked a few in her palm and smiled genuinely for the first time in days. But the couple left, the cameras backed away, and the street slowly emptied. One sighed and turned toward her cafe. As she arrived, she dove into work without a word. She didn't speak to anyone, didn't smile, just work, silently, like a ghost moving through familiar motions. Then it hit her, a sharp pain in her lower abdomen. It made her wince and grip the counter for support. But she didn't stop, she kept working, pretending it was nothing. Once her shift was over, she went home quiet, withdrawn, but the pain followed. She lay in bed, clutching her stomach, but refused to panic. She took a few bites of food, then curled under the covers. Only after what felt like hours did sleep finally came, slow, heavy, and restless. Jungkook was inside his room. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Receiving no response, his mother pushed the door open and walked in. The room was engulfed in darkness. Jungkook's mother, Jungkook, come and eat. How long do you plan to live like this? Jungkook flatly, I'm not hungry, please leave. His mother's patience began to wear thin. Jungkook's mother, listen, life doesn't go on like this. You need to think about your future now. I want you to get married and start a family. Jungkook coldly, how many times do I have to say this? I don't want to get married. Jungkook's mother firmly, I'm going to start looking for a bride and whoever I choose, you will marry her. That's final. Jungkook clenched his fist in frustration. His mother noticed the changes in his expression but chose not to argue further. With a sign of exasperation, she turned and left the room. Jungkook lay back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. A few quiet tears rolled down the side of his face. His mind was heavy with tangled thoughts, but he said nothing, just lay still in the silence of the room. My stomach pain had not gone away. Still, she forced herself to get ready and left for college. Jungkook didn't show up at college that day. After finishing her assigned work, she headed slowly to the cafe to continue her shift. But once inside, a sharp wave of pain shot through her abdomen. She stumbled and sat down, barely able to hold herself upright. Mrs. Kim noticed her distress and rushed to her side. Mrs. Kim concerned, Why, what's wrong? Are you having stomach pain? Wine groaning softly. It's hurting a lot. I can't bear it anymore. Mrs. Kim, come on. Let's go to the doctor. Wine weakly. I don't have any money. A doctor will cost a lot. Mrs. Kim gently but firmly, Oh hush, don't worry about that. I will take care of the expenses. Let's go now. Without waiting for further protest, Mrs. Kim helped Wine get and lead her out of the cafe, determined to get her the help she needed. Wine sat quietly in the doctor's office, her fingers nervously intertwined in her lap. The coldness of the room seeped into her bones, but it was nothing compared to the weight she carried inside her, both emotionally and physically. The doctor, a kind but stern woman in her 50s, finished her examination and leaned back in her chair with a deep sigh. Doctor, why? She began, voice tinged with concern. How many times have I told you to take your medicines properly? Wine lowered her eyes in shame. Doctor, your body is already extremely weak, and now you are carrying a baby. The doctor continued, you need to take care of yourself. You hardly ate enough, and as a result, your baby's growth is slower than it should be at this stage. One swallowed the lump in her throat. Wine, it won't happen again, she whispered. The doctor raised an eyebrow. Doctor, you say that every time, but this isn't just about you anymore. The baby's weight is far below average. You are malnourished, and that's directly affecting the baby. One remained silent, biting her lower lip to stop the tears threatening to escape. Doctor, you always say your husband is too busy to come with you, the doctor added, but at a time like this you should not be doing it all alone. Tears slid down one's cheeks, silent and uninvited. Why, doctor, she said, her voice trembling, will my baby survive? The question struck the doctor like a sudden chill. She paused, then softened. Doctor, of course your baby will be fine, the doctor assured gently, but only if you start taking care of both yourself and your child. I prescribing some important medicine and a strict routine you need to follow. Stick to it, wine. That's all I ask. Why nodded slowly, not trusting her voice. She took the prescription and quietly walked out of the room. Outside the clinic, Mrs. Kim was waiting, her kind eyes widen when she saw Wine. Mrs. Kim, is everything all right? She asked. What did the doctor say? Wine gave her a small, tight smile. Wine, everything is fine. I just need to follow a routine, that's all. Mrs. Kim held out her hand. Mrs. Kim, give me the prescription. I will get the medicine for you. Wine hesitated. Wine, no, I can manage. I will slowly repay you if I take anything. Mrs. Kim gently pushed Wine's hand away. Mrs. Kim, you don't need to think about that right now. Just focus on staying healthy. One could not hold back the grateful tears in her eyes. She nodded, clutched the prescription tighter, and quietly made her way back home. Later that night, she lay on her bed after eating a little, her body curled in exhaustion. Her hand instinctively moved to her belly. She froze. There it was, gentle, fluttering movement under her skin, her baby. Small, smile curved her lips for the first time in days. She whispered to her unborn child, why, nothing will happen to you, baby. Your mother won't let anything happen to you. Just stay healthy and come back to the world healthy. Her words soft and filled with promise, and slowly, with one hand still resting over the life growing within her, Wine drifted off to sleep, a silver of hope warming the corners of her tired heart.